Alright, well, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really want to film this, but it's kind of my job too. So, the G80 and my rear end has locked up. Truck still runs, drives, does all of that, but it will only go forward and reverse. Both tires go the same way. When you make a U-turn, you can hear one of the tires locking up as you turn. So I was trying to film a TikTok, you know, the one where you walk out on the road and you drop back. The vehicle drives by. So I want to do a little twist on that, and I want to be doing a burnout. Well, I think I've done probably 15 burnouts with this since I had the gears done 2.5 years ago. I always go super easy on it. I don't really beat the shit out of this truck. Well, I went to do a burnout and something made like a weird noise. Honestly, it kind of sounded like a shock shifted in. It didn't sound bad. It just sounded like a pop noise. And I think what that was the G80 engaging, and I think it locked itself. I've read online that this is a common thing in these rear ends, and the way to fix it is to drain the fluid out, put new fluid in, and then drive it, and it will unlock itself. So I've never taken the diff cover off of any axle in my entire life. This is the one thing I paid for on this entire truck for a shop to do. I painted it, I lifted it, I did everything except for the rear end, because rear ends kind of worry me. I feel like they're scarier than they actually are, but I'm just worried of messing it up and it costing a lot of money, because just gears for this is like $380 or something. So I'm just worried I'm gonna mess it up. So I'm gonna pop the diff cover off of it, kind of see what it looks like inside. I'm like praying that there's not just a big chunk of metal. I'm praying that there's just gear fluid and that my G80 is just locked up. Keep my fingers crossed. So I am using my phone. I don't know how much battery was left on my camera. Really only brought my camera to film a TikTok. So we're just gonna use my phone and just get by with it and pray that we open this up and there's not just a chunk of metal sitting anywhere in the vicinity of this differential. Now, I know I can't be the only one that has this type of luck. I'm literally gonna be posting the truck for sale in the next probably 2-3 weeks. I've got a couple things that I wanna do to it before I sell it. But I've never sold a vehicle in my entire life, and this is probably one of the hardest things that I've had to do. I want to start a new build, but I don't have the funding or room to start a new build without selling this. So it's one of those things that kind of just has to be done, whether I want it to happen or not. But of course, right before I'm about to sell it, something has to happen. So pop all these off and just pray to God that our rear end is not trashed. Well, bad news, guys. I got the cover off, and there was 2 pieces of metal sitting in the bottom of the pumpkin. And let me show you what else I found. So these were the 2 pieces that I found sitting in the bottom of the pumpkin. And this is what's left of my G80. So luckily, my gears themselves are good, the 456s. But the G80 decided to explode from the inside. So I think this is called the spider gear. It's what goes down here in the bottom. It broke in half and decided to come out. I'm going to look online and see if I can just replace that spider gear. If so, that is exactly what I'm going to do. This just sucks because, like I said, I'm planning on selling this truck, and I'm like really mad at myself because if I would have just stayed home or went out and worked, whatever, this wouldn't have happened. But I wanted to make a TikTok, and I want to do a different style TikTok, so I'm going to do a burnout. If I never would have done the burnout, this wouldn't have happened. Yes, it could have been worse. I could have disintegrated everything in the rear end. So I guess there is a positive to this. It just sucks that what happened happened. So I'm gonna try and pull some of these pieces out. I definitely think the G80 is not gonna be able to be saved, but I don't know. I've never been in a rear end before. Sorry, 2-year-old me coming out. But I don't really know what I'm looking at. I just know that it's not supposed to look like that. Love my life. And this is gonna suck. So I'm gonna try and do this on camera, but I'm gonna try and pop this piece right here out. Nice. Nice. So yeah, this is not supposed to be like that. Where did you go? I know you're in here somewhere. Where did you go? Where the frick did you go? There we are. There's our big piece of metal. Oh, yes. All right, a little over a week later, truck is still sitting like you guys last saw it. Now I finally have all the stuff in to finish the rear end, which is nice, and my camera's fogging up. This has finally hit that point of the year where it's hot enough outside. It starts to fog up, but got everything to fix the rear end. So let me show you what I got. I got really lucky, and I went on Facebook Marketplace and I was searching all around, everywhere, North Florida, South Georgia, North Georgia, Alabama, because if I could find a good deal on a locker, differential, anything, it was easier just to buy that instead of spending $500 on one online. And that is when I found this. So this is a Speedmaster locker. It is originally like $570. I picked it up off Facebook Marketplace, brand new, never used, 200 bucks. And a good way to tell if it's ever been used is if there is, I'll show you guys, if there's any pinion bearing or carrier bearing things right here. And there's not, so that worked out well. I'm like 99% sure that I stole it from somebody, because not to be one to like judge a book by its cover, but he was like really sketchy and like really uneasy feeling the whole time I was there. It was like this like really rough looking trailer park with a bunch of like tore up vehicles that I'm pretty sure like probably stolen and parted out. But hey, whatever. I paid 200 bucks for it. It's originally 500 and something dollars. I'm not complaining. And then we've got all our bearings and seals. So we're not going to be using all of these. We're only going to be using these two right here because, you guys remember, I just had this rear end rebuilt like a year and a half ago, if that. I think it's been like a year and a half to 2 years, but I just had it rebuilt, and then our G80 broke. And luckily the G80 broke pretty close to my house, and it didn't cause any other damage besides one of the spider gears breaking and it breaking one of the governor locks on the differential itself. So I got really lucky with that. So we're only gonna have to use these two right here. And of course I watched videos online because I do everything myself to these vehicles. So build headlights, bumper, painted it, lifted it, polished my rims, wheel lights, everything I do myself. But the rear end was the one thing I did not do myself. And I kind of regretted it after I paid someone to do it because I wanted to learn. And it was the one thing on my channel that I didn't do myself, and I kind of felt like bad about that. So now we're gonna be doing it ourselves. Luckily, all I'm doing is pulling out the old differential and putting the new one in. So it's not really doing a lot of work. I'm leaving all the same shims in place, everything like that. Everything's still gonna be in a line. We're literally pulling the old differential out, putting the new differential in, and that's it. So what we have to do is take our tires off the rear. We have to take our brake calipers off. We have to pull our rotors off. We have to slide our axles out, and then you can pull the differential out and do all that. I've got our fluid and this socket right here. So normally when you replace these bearings, you have to have them pressed on. And well, I don't have a press. So I found a video somewhere on YouTube, I don't remember who posted it, but he said 1.5 inch socket works. So 1 1/2 inch socket, and it actually is like direct size of the carrier bearing. So that should work out good. Be able to hammer that on and go on with our lives. So let's start getting everything pulled apart and get this rear end replaced. Okay, now before you get ahead of yourself and start taking the tires off that I did, I'm smart and left this one tire still on over here. There's a bolt that holds this center pin right here, and there's a bolt. It's right up on the top up here. It's going to be in a little indention kind of like this, but the bolt is up here, and that's what holds the center pin in. You want to take that out, slide this center pin out. It's gonna fight you if your gears are broke like mine, like the spider gear right here is in pieces, literally pieces. So it's binding up in there and it doesn't want to spin, but you have to get it to spin because you have to get the center pin out. Because once you take this out, it slides down. When you get the tires and the caliper, rotor, all of that taken off, you're gonna want to knock the axle itself in. There's gonna be 2 little clips that hold the axle itself centered in here. You want to pull them out, slide your axles out about 10 inches on each side. That'll give you enough room to pull these covers off. Make sure you mark which bolt is where. So what I'm going to do, since I have to clean everything anyways, I'm going to pull these out and I'm going to set them facing the direction they go with the bolts next to where they go on the ground. So like I'm going to pull the top bolt out, set it up here, pull the bottom bolt out, set it behind it. Pull this out, set it down that way. And you want to keep track of your shims. So I'm probably going to move this bucket because I already dropped one of these bolts in this drain pan. But you want to make sure everything goes back where it came from. So let's get to pulling it apart. Okay, I don't know what the problem was, but this absolutely did not want to come out. I just had to fight and fight. I watched a YouTube video that said the guy, because another guy ran into a problem getting this out, and he said that he had one tire on the ground over there, and he thought the pressure from the tire on the one side was pressing the axle tube and pinning this. So I took the tire off, and that really didn't help. I think there's a piece of a gear stuck somewhere in there because, as you can tell, it ate the living shit out of this. See all the way around? So I don't think my burnout is what caused this to go out. I think that spider gear probably had like a hairline crack or something in it, and was riding the shit out of this. And then when I tried to do that burnout that day, it just hit a weak point and caused it to break. Because if you look, there's wear on both sides of it. That's not supposed to be there. So I definitely think this was on its way out. It just so happened to be when I did a burnout. So at least, you know, I'm getting it fixed now. All right, so we've got the differential out. It is sitting right there on the ground. Everything actually looks good on it. So, okay, I'm not a I am a mechanic. I mean, technically that's kind of what I do on this channel, but I'm not a professional when it comes to terminology. I'm just a redneck with some knowledge on fixing shit. That's about it. But I believe it's called the pinion, or the yoke, the thing that comes in through the center of the pumpkin. I think it's called the yoke. I'm not sure, but it looks good. The bearings on it look good. Really, the 456s didn't get messed up whatsoever. I got really lucky that this happened up here, close to my house. It didn't happen days before down in Daytona, Florida, because that would have sucked. It probably would have drove the whole way home, I think, but then again, it might not have. So I got really lucky. It happened like 20-30 minutes from the house, and it didn't mess up my 456s because they look perfect. They don't have a single thing wrong with them. So I'm gonna get the bed gear. I don't know what it's called, guys. I'm sorry. If you want exact terminology, use Google, because I'm not Google. But I'm gonna get the bed gear off. Get it. Well, first I'm gonna get the new bearings on this differential in this box. I'm gonna get the new bearings on it, then hurry up and get the bed gear put on it, get it put back in, get our axle shafts back in, get it together, because if you guys can't tell, it is very dark outside and it's starting to sprinkle. So I preferably don't want my axle shafts sticking out like that when it starts raining. And speaking of the axle shafts, they were super easy to get those little keys out. I mean, they came out like nothing, like super easy. Just I literally tapped with a hammer, got a magnet, pulled it out, no problem whatsoever. The hardest part was literally getting that little center pin thing out. It did not want to come out whatsoever. Well, I got our ring gear and I got our pinion bearing cap things. I thought I was good with terminology, but I'm not. But I got it all on. But of course, I don't know if you guys can see the raindrops on the ground. It's starting to rain. So this sucks. I'm actually, before it starts raining, well, harder, I'm gonna grab some brake cleaner and I'm gonna clean off the differential cover and the inside of the pumpkin. I'm gonna get all that cleaned out. That way it can kind of like dry while it's sprinkling out here. Everything underneath the truck is fine. But once it, you know, decides what it wants to do, I'm sure I probably edited in the lightning and crap from when it was lightning and thundering while I was putting the ring gear on. But I'm gonna get it all cleaned out. I guess wait this rain out and get this rear end back. Now this is actually really not that hard. I think the hardest part is like the backlash and the shimming and everything. Well, as you can tell, it rained and it's about a good 40 minutes later, but we're ready to get everything put in the truck. We've got our ring gear on, we've got all of that together. So how this locker works, there's a snap ring that holds the centerpiece in, and you slide your axle tubes into there. You put your little keys in the axle tube, and then there's this little centerpiece, kind of like our center pin that we had to pull out that fought us so much. There's this little centerpiece that goes in. You put the cover back on, put the snap ring back on, then you're basically good to go. Really, this is a lot easier than I would imagine. Like I said, the most difficult part is the backlash and making sure you're shimmed correctly. So let's get it in the truck. And this is what it looks like all cleaned out. Like I said, this thing is still perfect shape. Luckily, we got really lucky with that it didn't damage that whatsoever. And we got it all cleaned out. Got our diff cover cleaned off, got our magnet cleaned off. That way we're not introducing any new metal shavings into the new locker or anything like that. So let's slide this back so we don't drop anything in there. We've got our left shim, our right shim. This is actually garbage. But this is everything we need. These were the little covers that went over the original gears, or the original bearings that were on the differential that is sitting way back over there. And now we're just going to place our shims back up in here and get our new locker in. Okay, so everything looks good on the rear end. I put the truck in drive and just let it roll. Looked at it, checked everything. It's not wearing uneven, actually wearing really good. Everything was even, so got it all put back together. I just got the diff cover on, got the brakes on this side on. Oh, both sides are on. Now I'm gonna fill it up with some fluid. You just fill it up until it starts coming out. I believe these trucks take, I think it's like just below 2 quarts. I got 3 quarts because I couldn't find an exact answer online. So I will let you guys know exactly how much it takes, because I'm about to find out. But it really wasn't too bad at all. I don't know why I paid a shop to do that the first time. Really wasn't that bad. But got it all back together, filled up some fluid. We'll take it on a test drive and then close this video out. Truck is back down on the ground. We have our rear spacers on, we have our tires back on. Everything is torqued down. It did end up taking all 3 quarts of the gear oil. So what I did was I pulled the fill plug on it. It took about 2 3/4 quarts. I put it in drive and I let it run just in drive. It only got like 15 miles per hour, but I let it go for a good 5 minutes, stopped it, pulled the plug back out, and then it ended up taking the rest of that quart. So if you guys are going to be doing this, I do suggest getting 3 quarts. It did take 80 weight 90 gear oil with no additive whatsoever. Now this is a limited slip rear end, so if one tire starts spinning, the other one's gonna immediately fire. This is a lot better design than the G80. Let's just put it that way. The G80 is a terrible design, but let's take this thing for a ride now. So just like before, I have to have the truck with traction control off. It's been that way ever since I got my gears done. I don't exactly know why. That's just how it is. Boom, we're driving again. I don't hear any noise whatsoever. Now my rotors do have rust on them because the truck has been sitting for about a week and a half and it has rained every single day. So my rotors do have some rust, so if you hear any bit of little grinding noise, it might be that. So how I knew last time that my rear end was messed up, I went up to this cul-de-sac up here and I whipped a U-turn, and that's where I heard the tire lock up. So that's automatically where I'm going this time. And my camera battery's flashing, so let's hope we make it. Oh, that is nice. Perfect. That is perfect. We didn't have a tire lock up at all. So now to go back to the house and close this video out. Okay, so hopefully we can make it through the outro before the battery dies, but I want to thank you guys for watching. We now have the speed performance locker in the rear end. Unfortunately the G80 blew up, but hey, everyone warned me about the G80. Actually, I've been talking to one of you guys, Andrew. It's funny, a couple weeks ago he's like, hey man, I'm talking to a shop about getting my rear end done, and they told me that I should change out my G80. I was like, I've had mine for 2 years and I haven't had a problem. My rear end's not making any noise, anything. And then literally like 3 weeks later, G80 blew up. I messaged him the night it happened and I was like, you jinxed me. Like, you jinxed this, but really it wasn't his fault. It was bound to happen. And looking at that center pin, it's been going out for a while. There's a lot of wear on it, and it was a very big pain in the butt to get out. So yeah, it was coming. But I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll have a link down in the description where you can buy that locker brand new from. Like I said, I bought it used off Facebook Marketplace. I suggest you guys look for things like that, but be careful what you buy. Always check it, make sure it is in good quality before you buy it. But I'll have a link to that down in the description. I'll also have a link to the install kit that I bought that came with the differential covered gasket and the bearings and all of that. I'll have a link down in the description for that as well. If you guys made it this far, please drop a like on this video. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.